Hey guys, HotRod08 here, and welcome to another episode of SupportCraft, where we take a look at new, possibly unconventional builds for support champions during Season 8. Now for today, we are going to be going over my latest patch 8.6 build for Rakan. If you guys have been in the loop recently, he got some pretty good buffs in patch 8.6, so I'm wanting to give you guys an updated build as to what I personally bring into my ranked games. Now, before we get started, if you haven't been to the channel yet, I feature support-focused League of Legends content. If you'd like to watch my 1-minute introductory video, I'll put that in the top right corner. But rather than that, let's begin with this build. So the goal of this build is to provide Rakan enough durability when he goes into a team fight that he's not going to get blown up immediately, but when he gets out after his initiation, that he is going to become a full Enchanter for his team. How we're going to do that is we're going to start with the Resolve path as our primary tree, and go down the secondary path as Sorcery. Together, that's going to give Rakan an extra 65 health and 10 ability power. Our primary keystone we're going to be going with is going to be Aftershock, which states after immobilizing an enemy champion, increase your armor and magic resist by 70, 120 for 2.5 seconds. And then it's going to explode and you'll deal some magic damage to nearby enemies, but that's not what we're taking this for. We're taking this because Aftershock provides that armor and magic resist, that durability that you really need in order to initiate with Rakan, either with your W or with your ult. It'll trigger it. But at the same time, as soon as you get out, you don't really need durability anymore. So when you get out, you can build yourself Enchanter items that will help heal your team rather than building durability, which is useless after your initiation. Our greater rune we're going to be going with is going to be Bone Plating, which states after taking damage from enemy champion, the next 3 spells or attacks you receive from them deal 20 to 50 less damage, and that's on a 45-second cooldown. So along with your initiation of Aftershock, Bone Plating provides you just a little bit more durability. It'll make sure that you don't take as much damage as you normally would when you go into your initiation. It's a good greater rune compared to the other choices here. And then our lesser runes we're going to be going with is going to be Chrysalis and Revitalize. Now, Chrysalis states you start off the game with an extra 60 health, and then after 4 takedowns, which is kills or assists, you consume that, and you instead get 15 ability power. Now, we take Chrysalis because early in the game, it provides 60 health, so in the laning phase, he's generally squishy in the first place, and that extra 60 health really helps him survive early in the game. And then when it does convert to that ability power, that 15 ability power goes really well with all of his abilities that he has, so it's a pretty good rune for him. Now, this is the rune that you might have to change from game to game. The other rune choice that you would go with is going to be Conditioning, which is the one that gives you armor and magic resist after 10 minutes in the game. Now, for the most part, I'm going to be going Chrysalis, but the games I would be going Conditioning are games that the enemy are going to be either building a lot of lethality or a lot of magic penetration. So if there's such as there's multiple assassins like Zed in the mid lane, Kha'Zix in the jungle, I would switch my Chrysalis to Conditioning so that when it gets to later in the game, when you're still building squishy early in the game, that extra armor and magic resist is going to stop their lethality or magic penetration from doing its full damage. And then for our last rune, we're going to be going with Revitalize, which is going to make your heals and shields that you cast 5% stronger. And then if the target is under 40% health, it's going to increase by 10%, so it'll go up to 15%. So make Rakan's heals and shields with his Q and E, and even his passive shield gets a boost from Revitalize as well. It'll make those stronger, as well as later when we get to our items, we are wanting to build Redemption at some point, and this is 3 times as effective on Redemption, so it'll actually make Redemption an extra 15 to 45% stronger. So that's why we would like to choose Revitalize. Now, going down our secondary tree, we're going to be making a focus on building AP for Rakan, since his AP ratios are awesome. His passive shield AP ratio is 90%. His Q healing ratio is 70%. The Q damage ratio is 60%. His W damage ratio is 70%. his E shield ratio is 80%, but you can use it twice. So it's actually 160% if you combine them together. And then his R damage AP ratio is 50%. So with all that combined, Rakan has some really good AP ratios, and we're going to make our secondary runes focus that. Now, with our first rune we're going to talk about is Absolute Focus. Now, there's an argument here that you could take Celerity too, because the Celerity adds that extra movement speed, which Rakan does like movement speed, as well as it does indeed grant Rakan some AP. But I take Absolute Focus because I personally think Absolute Focus is a better early game rune than Celerity. And I know this build is trying to make Rakan better in the late game, but we need to have at least a little bit of early game runes, because we focus way too heavily on the late game. We might not get there. What I mean by this is Aftershock is arguably better for the late game. Guardian might be better for the laning phase. You could argue in some matchups the Unflinching might be better for its tenacity early, but we're taking Revitalize instead, which is better late game if you can manage with it. And especially Gathering Storm doesn't scale. You don't even get anything until the 10-minute mark, and it gets better later game. So we don't have too many runes for the early game. So we're going to take Absolute Focus because it states, while above 70% health, gain an adaptive bonus up to 24 attack damage or 40 ability power. So you start off the game with 5 ability power. At level 1, you can get up to 40 ability power at level 18. So this early AP that Rakan can get, for one, it boosts his passive shield, so it gives you just a little extra health each time it regenerates. It also makes your Q and E shielding just a little bit more powerful. And it says you don't get it unless you're above 70% health, but between the health pots that Rakan can use and using continually using his Q to heal you, which again we're boosting with ability power to more make those heals stronger, you'll get yourself well above 70% for the vast majority of the laning phase if you know what you're doing and you're not getting yourself killed immediately. So it's early in the game, like level 5, you should have about 15 ability power, so that does make a big difference, and it will make his sustain and laning phase a lot better than Celerity would. And then finally, we'll talk about Gathering Storm, which increases your AP as the game goes on. So at the 10-minute mark, we're going to have an extra 8 AP. 20-minute mark, we're going to have 24 AP. 30-minute mark, 48 AP. 40 minutes, 80 AP. 50 minutes, 120 AP, etc. So generally, games don't last past 30 to 40 minutes. So we're going to talk about the 30-minute mark. So at 30 minutes, we're going to have 48 extra ability power, which with all of our ratios is going to really help. So such as his passive shield, you'd have an extra about 43, 44 health from it. From his Q healing, you'd get an extra, about, if you do the math real quick, about extra 34 health gain per use just from that ability power. Your E AP ratio, as I said, was 80%, so combined it's 160% using it twice. So with 48 AP, you get around an extra 80, 75 extra shielding total just from that extra 48 AP. And then, of course, the damage ratios on the W and R and Q make a difference too. But this extra AP that Rakan gets in the game really scales well with him. That's why I go Gathering Storm rather than going with any other choice, such as Mana Flow Ban or Ultimate Hat. It just really scales well with him. And this build, if you guys have been around long enough, you know that I like playing champions that scale into the late game. I love playing a champion for its team fight capabilities. So this maximizes Rakan's ability to be an initiator and an enchanter at the same time in the late game. It makes him just an absolute powerhouse of an enchanter with both his heals and his shields. Alright, so getting into the items we're going to be building, we're going to start off the game with Ancient Coin, Refillable Potion if you think you can get away with it, if it's not too hard of a laning phase. If you think you're going to get bursted down a lot like versus a Brand, then definitely go down 3 health pots and then our Warding Totem. Now, there's been an argument, people going Spell Thieves versus Ancient Coins. Spell Thieves can be a little better with Rakan, but it's a lot more riskier. If you can't get the hits off, you are just going to be warding way too late in the game. So I like being a little bit on the less risky side and going the Ancient Coin line. Plus, it gives him just a little early cooldown reduction, and it gives him movement speed, which, since we're not taking Celerity, which does grant Rakan early in the game about 10 movement speed. Once you get Ancient Coin upgrade, that itself will add that 10 movement speed, so you're not going to be losing it going down the Ancient Coin line. Your first backs to base, you want to upgrade your coin to Nomad's Medallion, get yourself a control ward, and then I personally buy myself a Dark Seal because it adds 15 ability power to him, which is really, really nice on him. It gives him 100 mana, so it lets you use your abilities just a little more, and it also makes your potions healing 25% stronger, so it gives them just a little more sustain when you're using your potions. And that AP can go up to 45 ability power if you get all 10 stacks, which there have been games I've played recently in my ranked games that I have gotten to 10 stacks. So for 350 gold and getting all the way up, possibly 45 ability power, plus with other stats, it's just way too good for him to pass up. It makes his early game a lot better. And if you need to get later in the game and you're not doing so hot and you need to upgrade to like your 200 gold short in order to upgrade an item, sell this. Because you buy it for 350 gold, you get its use out of it, and then when you sell it for 245 gold. So you're at a loss of 105 gold, which is like 2 coins dropped from Nomad's Medallion loss. So the benefits you get from it are definitely worth that 105 gold loss. And then you'll want to get your Boots of Speed early because Rakan needs that movement speed. When you do decide to upgrade your boots, you're going to want to go with Ionian Boots Lucidity, which is going to give him some cooldown reduction, which is nice for all of his abilities. And it's also going to reduce your summoner spells cooldowns by 10%, which is going to let you flash or ignite or whatever you need to do more often. If there is a lot of lethality on the enemy team, though, or they have just a crap ton of CC, you'll want to go one of these more defensive boots, though. We're also not going Boots of Mobility just because below we're going to start off with Shurelya's Reverie, which is going to give the movement speed that Boots of Mobility would get in the first place. So getting into our core build, as I said, we're going to start off with Shurelya's Reverie, which is going to give Rakan 40 ability power, 200 health, 10% cooldown reduction, 8% movement speed. And then its active is going to grant yourself and nearby allies 40% movement speed for 3 seconds. It's only on a 60% cooldown too, which if you want to put that into perspective with other items, Locket is currently a 90-second cooldown and Redemption is a 120-second cooldown. So Shurelya's Reverie is on a pretty short cooldown. This really helps Rakan initiate whenever his ult is up, because with the nerfs that happen in Season 7 with his W, movement speed decreased, as well as his ultimate hit box lowered, it's hard to hit your targets correctly. Well, with Shurelya's Reverie, it makes your movement speed that much faster, and movement speed scales with his W, so it actually makes you W in faster, and you can move around faster after you've W'd in order to hit more allies with your, or enemies with your Shurelya's Reverie. And as well as that, it'll make your teammates get up to the people you initiated on in the first place faster too, which will let them follow up on you easier when you do initiate. And then after that, you'll want to go Redemption, which gets you some health, mana regen, health regen, and some cooldown reduction, makes your heals and shields stronger. And then it gives, you know, that active effect that that heals your allies within its radius when it drops down. So as I said, I like building for team fights. Redemption is definitely a great item for team fights. Gives a lot of massive healing. It scales with our rune that gives that heal and shielding powers really well with that. So it makes Rakan be able to heal a lot more in team fights. So that's why we go Redemption. And then finally, you'll want to upgrade your Nomad's Medallion into Remnant of the Ascended, just so you can get an extra ward down, you'll give yourself just a little bit more health. So with these 3 items combined, you get yourself an extra 600 health, which does give Rakan some durability in order to not just get bursted down immediately. Plus, with your passive shield constantly regenerating, you do actually get yourself at least somewhat ability to be durable early in the game, even if it's not magic or armor. You at least get yourself some health, so you're not just going to be bursted down immediately. So that is the core build, and then we're going to go with our varied finishing items, which is going to be team dependent. If they have a lot of burst, or you need to just not die so easily, then you'll want to go for an item like Locket the Iron Solari or Zeke's Convergence, which is going to add some armor and magic resist to your build, so you at the later game can be more durable and you can be more in the front line. If you don't need that durability immediately, then you can go another item like Athene's Unholy Grail, or Censer, or Mikael's, depending on the team situation. I used to build Athene's first, actually, on Rakan before Shurelya's Reverie came out. I maxed Q first. I still put 3 points in Q. We'll go over that in just a minute. But it works really well with him. I also add some magic resistance, which is nice. If you don't want that, though, you can go Ardent Censer in order to boost your allies' attack speed and their on-hit effects. And if there's a lot of CC and you want to save an ally, you can also go Mikael's Crucible. So those are the items you can go with. There's a lot of variants once you get your core build, but you can switch around Rakan to either be even more healing or start becoming durable at that point in the game. So finally, let's get into our skill set real quick. So our first point we go into is W, which combined with our Aftershock can get you some nice damage in the level 1 trading, as well as for you not to take too much damage because you get that extra 70 magic resist and armor as you're leaving. Second point is going to go into Gleaming Quill, your Q, which is going to start providing you and your allies some sustained laning phase, get our point in E, and then we're going to put 2 more points in Q. So early game, that's going to provide some harassing ability that Rakan can use, as well as a lower cooldown on his Q to be able to sustain yourself more. After you put a point in all of your ultimate abilities of 6, 11, and 16, when you can, we're going to max out Q at this, or E at this point, I'm sorry. So we're going to max out E in order to lower the cooldown from 20 at rank 1 to 12 at rank 5. Because each time you rank up E, you provide an additional 25 shield per use, but you can use it twice, so each rank up you can get extra 50 shield, so you can use that battle dance, your maneuverability, and fights more often. After you max out E, we're going to put a couple more points in Q to max out 2 in order to get that cooldown reduction all the way from 12 at rank 1 to 6 at rank 5, which with 40% cooldown reduction, which we'll get relatively early in the game, we'll get that Q down to from 6 seconds to 3.6 seconds, and then from 12 seconds at the lowest rank of battle dance to about 7.6 seconds, somewhere around the lines of that. I haven't done the math for a second, but it's pretty close to like 7.6 seconds. So we max out E and Q first as opposed to W, just because I like playing as an Enchanter. I like healing and shielding, and we don't need the W cooldown to be reduced, and you also don't need the damage on it. You're not looking for the damage on your Grand Entrance, especially now that it has a 70% AP ratio. You're going to get your damage anyways from your ability power. You get your W just for the knockup effect, and from rank 1 to rank 5, you only get down from 18 seconds to 12 seconds, a 6-second reduction, which with 40% cooldown reduction, it's only going to be a 3.6 reduction from what would be at level 0.1. So I personally don't find ranking your W up first to be beneficial. I'd much rather have the lower cooldown on your Q and on your E in order to give your ally sustained healing and shielding, just like an Enchanter needs to do in the first place. So that'll be it for our build for Rakan patch 8.6. I hope you enjoyed the video. This SupportCraft is just a little longer than my other videos, just because I wanted to take the time in order to discuss why I chose all of these things for you. So I hope you stuck around for the whole video in order to get my understanding on why I play Rakan the certain way that I do, why I build the runes, the items, and the skill set on him. But rather than that, please comment below on what you like about the build, if you agree or disagree, if what you yourself would change on it. Rather than that, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel. As I said, come out with videos on a weekly basis. Like the video, I really appreciate your upvotes on the video. It really helps me out. And you guys have a great day today. Thanks so much.